So I'm curious if you know about this book, um, Syncopation for the Modern Drummer by Ted Reed. I don't know if I'm putting this in the right spot or not, but yeah, this is a classic book to learn how to read rhythm and to learn about the different types of notes. And most drummers at some point, if they took lessons and stuff, have probably been through this book. Flip it open to page 4, and I'll teach you how to read music. Yeah. So we're going to go to the very beginning, page 4. And so on page 4 and 5, you can see that this is the way a lot of the book is set up. You've got 15 numbered lines, and each line is the same rhythm repeated 4 times. So you have a rhythm to learn on the line, and you play the line until you can successfully play the rhythm, and then you move on to the next one. So you've got the 15 lines of rhythm, and then at the end of the section on bar 5 there, you've got 16 bar exercise. So in the book, sometimes it's a 20 bar exercise, whatever. But a lot of the time in the first number of pages in the book, you've got an exercise at the end, and the exercise, each bar is different. So it's more like playing through a combination of rhythms and having to link them all together while keeping a steady flow of time. And so for the 16 bar exercise, you start at the beginning, you play all the way down the 4 lines, top to bottom, beginning to end. So that's kind of how it's organized for the first number of pages. So if we look at page 4, line number 1, the top line is the snare drum, or, for our purposes, the practice pad. So, and the bottom line of notes, that's the bass drum. But for now, we're not even going to worry about the bass drum. We're just going to practice the snare line, practice reading the rhythms and playing the rhythms on the pad. So, you've got, if you look kind of behind the notes, you've got 5 lines and 4 spaces, and that's called the music staff. And so every line and every space represents a different note. If it was a piano or whatever, it's a different note. But for our purposes, the lines and the spaces, wherever the note is placed, whether it's on one of the lines or in one of the spaces, where it's placed indicates to us which drum or cymbal we need to be playing those notes on, those rhythms on. So that's what it represents. So if you look, if we go from the top, the first space, and then the second space down from the top that's where the snare drum goes. So anytime you see notes in that particular space, you know right away, that's my snare drum. And it's the same with the notes, the bottom line there. That bottom space always represents the bass drum. So if there are notes there, that means that those notes are going to be played on the bass drum. So that's that. And in this example, line 1, on the snare drum, those are quarter notes. Those are the 4 primary beats of the bar. So if we look at that, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are your 4 quarter notes. And then there's a line, and that's called a bar line. And that's what separates the bars, or the more correct term would be the measures, the music measures. So we have 4 beats per measure, or 4 beats per bar, and then there's a bar line, and then when we continue, we go back to 1, and that's what represents going back to beat 1. So this first line, we've got 4 measures of quarter notes being played on the snare drum or practice pad. So if I play this long, or you could play along with me, I'll just count off 4 beats and then we'll play the line. So it's just quarter notes. It's just like the very first thing we did today. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the line. Any questions so far before I continue? But this is, I mean, this is like step one in learning how to read music. Reading quarter notes off the page. So the note, you've got the note head, which is the little point, and then you've got the stem, they call it the stem, that comes off the note. And so when you see a note and a stem that looks like that, those are quarter notes. Doesn't matter if the stem's pointing up like in the snare or pointing down like in the bass drum, quarter notes. So on these pages 4 and 5, all we are dealing with is quarter notes. And I mean, there are rests, which means there are certain beats you don't play, and I'll explain those in a minute. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. At least to kind of wrap our heads around the main 4 beats per bar thing. So if we look at number 2, now we're getting into rests, and so for every note value we have, like we have different notes of different durations. There's quarter note, that's a beat. Eighth note, that's half a beat. 16th note, that's a quarter of a beat. So for all the note values, we also have rests of the same corresponding values. So we've got a quarter note, which means play a note for 1 beat, but we've also got a quarter note rest, which means don't do anything for 1 beat. And that's what we have on beat 1 of the second line. That symbol right there is a quarter note rest. So that means you don't play beat 1, but it's there, so you have to count it and wait and be aware of it. It's part of the time, but we don't do anything. And then we do have quarter notes on beats 2, 3, and 4. So line number 2 sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So very important to count the rest, even if you're not playing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So reading music, learning to read the notes is super important, but learning to read and understand the rests is just as important, because to read music and understand it, you have to understand notes and note values, and you have to understand rests and rest values. And that's it. 2 sides of the same coin. And so yeah, let's play line number 2 together again. So I'll just count it in. Rest on beat 1. We count it, but we don't play it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So if we look at line number 3, if anyone's just joining or watching or whatever, I'm basically teaching how to read music from the very beginning, starting with quarter notes and rests, using the Syncopation Ted Reed book, which I will likely use in these live sessions in the coming weeks. Okay, so Angelo, line number 3. We have another new symbol now on the snare drum line. It's like a rectangle. So the rectangle is also a rest, but this is a half note rest. So a half note rest lasts for 2 beats. So this basically means you don't play for beats 1 or beat 2, and then you just play beats 3 and 4. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how that would work. And there's something else I wanted to get because I said half note rest. So in our session so far, we've done quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes, but we never went in, like we subdivided the pulse into smaller fragments, but we didn't go in the other direction. So it's important that you're aware as well that there are longer notes than the quarter note as well. So a half note, I just talked about a half note rest, which means don't play for 2 beats. A half note is a note that lasts 2 beats. So a half note, if I play 2 half notes, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So 3, 4. So a half note lasts for half the bar. And then you have a whole note, which is the whole bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So just to make sure you're aware that there are those notes in the other direction as well. We just don't tend to talk about them as much in drumming because we're often playing the pulse and using quarter notes or smaller types of notes. But yeah, they exist and we do use them a bit as well. So that's kind of how reading these pages works. You can kind of work your way down and just respect the rests and play the notes where they are. I would definitely recommend doing it with a metronome, and you could put the metronome a little quicker. Remember, if anything ever seems easy, just crank up the metronome a little bit, and that'll add a little extra challenge. The last thing I'm gonna sort of mention is line 4, since we have the two types of rests and then the quarter note on beat 4. So line 4, you got a half note rest, so that counts for beat 1 and 2. You don't do anything, but you count them. You have a quarter note rest on beat 3, so same thing, you're gonna count it but not play it, and then just a big fat quarter note on beat 4. So you just get 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. And that should be enough information to get you able to play down those two pages and then maybe give the 16 bar exercise a go. Let's do a little more from this syncopation book. Why not? We'll continue to get you on the road of reading here. So we looked at page 4, 5. Now we're going to jump to page 10 and 11. Page 10, we've got eighth notes and quarter notes. So we looked at just the quarter notes with the rest. Now we're going to look at what eighth notes look like and how to play rhythms that combine them with quarters. Page 10. Again, top line is snare, bottom line bass drum. We're not going to worry about the bass drum. We're just going to look at the snare line. So actually, we're going to pop over to page 11. Line 11, page 11. Because line 11, that's your eighth notes. That's just a full bar of eighth notes. You see there are 8 of them, but we don't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with the eighth notes, you can see how they differ from the quarter notes because they're attached to one another. So that, we call it a beam that attaches the notes across the top. Eighth notes are attached with one beam across the top, and they can be grouped in 4s, the way you see in line 11, and they are sometimes grouped in 2s, like in line 12. So you just want to keep that in mind because you can have a group of 4 eighth notes, and you can also have a group of 4 16th notes. And what differentiates them is how they're beamed together, because later we'll see the 16ths have 2 beams connecting them. And as we see here, the eighth notes have 1 beam connecting them, and so that's the difference between the eighth note and the 16th note. So when we get to the 16th, we don't want to confuse eighths and 16ths. So when we're reading rhythms, you have to look at the note head, but you have to look at how they're attached. You have to look at the stem as well, because that gives you very important information about what type of note you're dealing with. So again, line 11, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 end. Those are your eighth notes, just like we play in our warm-up. And so let's just play the line. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So that's the line. That's what eighth notes look like on the page. All right, so over to line 1. We've got two eighth notes on beat 1, so that's going to be 1 and then you've got quarter notes on beats 2, 3, and 4. So that rhythm is just 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. That's all it is. So let's play line number 1. I'll put the metronome on. Why not? We'll speed it up a little. 3, 4. 1 and 2. Here we go. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3. And we'll repeat the line. 2. Just keep playing it. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3. And you notice I count a lot. We use counting and drumming a lot to help keep us in time and also make sure we're playing the correct rhythm. So I'm counting, but it'll be very helpful for you too if you count as well as you practice. 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2. And not only counting in our heads, but counting out loud, even when we're on our own. 2, 3, 4, 1 and 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 2, 3, 4. Good. So the next line, now you have 1, 2, and 3, 4. That's line number 2. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. So let's play that down. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 We'll just repeat several times. 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. There we go. So Angelo, what would the count be for line number 3? Yeah, perfect. Okay. So you get it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yep. Very good. And then I'll get you to check out line number 5. Well, line number 4 is just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and. But I want to check out line number 5 because that's where you start to have more than one beat of eighth notes. So line number 5 is going to be 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 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 So there you go. A little bit more on how to read music.